Roll4Crit.com presents How to Play a Study in Emerald in 5 minutes or less or more. It's the second edition. Not this one. Get out of here. Designed by Martin Wallace, published by Tree Frog Games, and Neil Gaiman is also on the cover. A Study in Emerald puts you in the era of Sherlock Holmes, only this time there are Cthulhian monsters running around. Your goal is to get more points than your opponents via killing monsters or each other. Each player receives a secret identity card which tells them whether they are a God-fearing loyalist or a humanity-loving restorationist. Generally speaking, loyalists want to get green points and assassinate restorationists, while restorationists want to get pink points and assassinate elder gods on royalty cards. Your identity is almost always secret, and while the game only has one winner, you may want to help your teammates out from time to time. Identity cards mainly factor into the end game scoring, which we'll get to at the end of the game. You'll also receive a set of influence cubes, 5 with you and 5 that are in limbo, 10 agent pieces, and 3 sanity markers. Oh, and you've got a deck of 10 cards. Shuffle that up and draw a hand of 5. Finally, each player gets to place 2 agents, one at a time in turn order, onto any city on the board they want to begin. On your turn, you'll be able to perform 2 actions. Which actions you take are usually determined by the symbols in the upper left corner of the card or cards you decide to play. Some cards will have multiple symbols in the corner. You may only use a card for one of these symbols when you play it, and once you've used the card for one action, you can't use it again for a second action later in your turn. Each city on the board has an associated pile of cards, from which one will always be shown face up. You're going to want to claim cards from these cities to improve your deck, and you're going to want influence cubes out to do that. This action allows you to place influence cubes from your personal supply into any one city space. If you play more than one card with that symbol, you can play more than one cube. Playing multiple cards of the same action type simultaneously still only counts as one action. But what if you're out of cubes because they're all on the board already? Well, you're in luck, because this action lets you retrieve cubes, either from the city spaces or from limbo, the area in which your cubes are normally off limits. You can mix and match from which areas you want to take from. This symbol is the one that lets you claim one card from a city space. If you have at least one cube in a city space and you have more combined cubes and or agent pieces in that city than any other player, you are qualified to claim the top card from there. Each agent is equal to 1 cube's influence value. This action must be carried out as your first of 2 actions. Take the card you got and put it in your discard pile to be shuffled back into your deck later on. If you qualify to claim cards from multiple spaces and you play multiple claim card actions, that's okay too. If the card that you claimed has an agent symbol on the top, you get to place 1 agent piece in the relevant city. If it has a point value, you gain that many points. If it has a sanity symbol, you must roll the sanity die. After taking a card, flip the top card of the deck face up. Any cubes in that city space are removed afterward. Yours go to limbo, anyone else's get returned to their personal supplies. This little railroad symbol lets you use an action to move one of your agents from one city space to any other city on the board. Next up, you'll see this little A symbol. That stands for assassinate. You can assassinate monstrous royalty cards or your fellow players in a city space where you have at least 1 agent and more pieces there than anyone else. First, monsters. Each time a royalty card appears from a deck, it goes below the city space and another card gets flipped up top. Now, any player can assassinate said card if they are able to. First, you'll need to play 1 assassinate action card. Then, you'll need a number of bomb points equal to the monster's value. You can play any number of cards from your hand with a bomb symbol on them, not including the one you played to initiate the assassination to accomplish this. Each agent that you have in the space also counts as 1 bomb point. After defeating a royalty card, follow its effects and place it by your identity card, not in your deck. Then, the card you use to trigger the assassination is removed from the game completely. Assassinating players works in basically the same way, only the required bomb points are indicated by the city space itself and don't change. Instead of taking a card, you remove one of the player's agent pieces from the game or return it to said player depending on the card. You may also gain some points for doing this. Finally, all influence cubes leave, yours go to limbo, the rest go back to the players. These action symbols move the markers up on these tracks, green for loyalists, pink for restorationists. Whenever this action is used, all players gain or lose points equal to the difference between the tracks. For example, if this was moved up 3 spaces, all players would gain 3 points. If the other track then got moved up 1 space, everyone would lose that point. Some cards may also have their own special actions printed on them. One-use action cards are removed from the game after use. You may also discard cards as an action if you have some that you don't like. And finally, you can use an action to simply pass. At the end of a turn, draw back up to 5 cards in hand and play continues. As stated earlier, some cards will force you to roll the sanity die. If it lands on a sanity symbol, you lose 1 sanity marker. Lose all 3 and you must reveal your identity. If you're a loyalist, you're crazy anyway, and you get to add agents to the board to bring your total up to 3. If you're a restorationist, you lose your marbles and the game ends completely. The game can also end either when one player reaches a set number of victory points or when one of either of these tracks hits 10. Once it's all over, everyone reveals their identities and you may lose points depending on what you are. Look through your cards with victory points on them. Black points are neutral, green points are for loyalists, and pink points are for restorationists. If you received points for the team that you're not a part of at any time during the game, you lose them now. Also, if you gained points for assassinating a player as a loyalist and that player turned out to be a loyalist as well, you lose those points. No reward for killing your own. Regarding these 2 tracks, whichever side is lower, each member of that team loses the difference between the 2 in points. And finally, whoever ended up in last place after all of that also causes everyone who was on their team to lose an additional 5 points due to their incompetence. Oh, and there are also zombies. In conclusion, place cubes, claim cards, assassinate, exterminate, calculate. That's a study in Emerald in a nutshell. Did you get all that?